I think onboarding is the biggest missed part. I think marketing is the most paid attention to, so we don't need to talk about that. And I actually think everyone thinks about marketing wrong. In the flywheel, marketing is last. Most people think marketing is first. I think sales is a pain point that everyone knows that they have and either decided to or not to deal with. Sales is critical, but onboarding I think is the one that no one even knows exists. So they don't even think about this as a section of their business that could be a problem point that would break down future.
Today we are chatting with Dan Uyemura, the CEO of PushPress, a complete gym management platform that really shaking up the fitness industry by giving gym owners tools that actually makes a difference, guys. He's also working on a book about business flywheel, how all the moving parts of gyms need to work together to fuel the growth. We're excited to have Dan here to talk about why onboarding is such an important but often overlooked part of the scaling memberships and creating a smooth experience for gym members. Dan, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Great to be here. I'm always excited to talk to gym owners about anything I can to help them grow their business.
Dan, where is the inspiration to write a book? This is such a huge undertaking. I admire you for this step. It's not an easy thing. It takes time. I know you are a busy guy. Why book now?
I guess because the biggest learning I've had running PushPress, and the way I like to frame it is I'm a gym owner too. So I started off by owning a gym, selling it, opening another gym, and then building the software. And what I've learned in the last 10 years or so building the software company is business. And a lot of gym owners have not been given the business tools and education that they really need to understand how to run a business. And in the big picture, I think business is actually tremendously simple, but it's one of those things that we can make complicated real quick because we think there's all these quick fixes out there. We think that there's all these like shiny objects that are going to cure things. And it actually boils down to doing a lot of really difficult things that are simple in concept repeatedly and over again. So as I began to dive into like what creates a great business, I realized that all of the best businesses have created a flywheel. And once I unpacked this flywheel, I realized that could be done in a gym, and explaining that in a gym would kill two birds with one stone, understanding their business in a way that they can actually visualize it, and then teaching them how every segment of the business can work together to make the next segment easier.
And it creates a lot of curiosity now for the people who are listening. Like, okay, this is all theory, but let's dive into it. You know, I announced in the introduction about onboarding, importance. Why do we talk about that? Why don't we talk about marketing and sales? Why do you think onboarding is a critical part of this?
I think onboarding is the biggest missed part. I think marketing is the most paid attention to, so we don't need to talk about that. And I actually think everyone thinks about marketing wrong. In the flywheel, marketing is last. Most people think marketing is first. I think sales is a pain point that everyone knows that they have and either decided to or not to deal with. Sales is critical, but onboarding I think is the one that no one even knows exists. So they don't even think about this as a section of their business that could be a problem point that would break down future, the next stages of business. And so to me, spelling out the needs for onboarding is the most important thing we can do for gym owners because it's probably the one you haven't spent any time thinking about.
I agree. And I've been a member for gym my whole life. And recently I joined ClassPass so I can rotate and see experience on many, many gym owners. And let me tell you, it's a horrible thing out there. You forgot as a member because onboarding is something you start, you go through, and you forget that happens.
Mm-hmm. But every new member experiences it first. You know what I mean?
Whoa, so different.
Yeah.
So different. And business owners don't even know what their onboarding experience is. They don't even know what their call experience is. I called 5 businesses, I recorded the calls, and I give to my client saying, hey, here's how your employees behave when people call them. And he was shocked. So how do you evaluate? Let's say we have a gym owner here on the call who's saying, come on, Dan, like how do I even start to evaluate my onboarding experience? Where do we start? How do you, where do you, walk me through?
Let's actually position it in the terms of the flywheel, because when we think of the flywheel,
Please.
it'll all make a little bit more sense. So sales is before onboarding, because you can't onboarding someone who hasn't bought, right? The job of sales is basically to set the value expectations and the understanding of like what we do in this business and how it will benefit you as a customer, and why the money you're spending is worth hopefully 2x, 10x the money you're spending you're going to receive back in value, right? So it's to explain the value, the trade-off between money for value. Okay. Now, once you do that and they transition into onboarding, what you have to do is a couple things. One, you have to allow them to understand how that value becomes real to them, because it's theoretical in the sales funnel, right? Like they might see other people experiencing it on the field, on the gym floor. They might see the equipment that might make it happen, but their own personal relationship to it is theoretical at that point. Two, we have to set boundaries for what's about to happen. So for whatever reason, if I'm selling you in my gym and I'm like, hey, your goal is, like in sales, you unearth the goal, right? Your goal is to lose 10 pounds, great. If they come in on the first day and go like, I want to lose it today, that's a lot different than if I want to lose it over 3 months. And so we have to be able to set the boundaries for what's going to happen and the expectations to hit the goal within those boundaries. Okay. So again, if you said, I want to lose 10 pounds today, the expectations and boundaries become very different. Maybe it's possible if we do some crazy stuff and you're going to be with me for 24 hours and you're going to be in pain for 24 hours. You're not going to eat. We're going to be in heat chambers. You're going to be, you're not going to have any water. Like, we're just going to do whatever we can to cut 10 pounds. Or if it's over 9 months, that becomes different, right? Like we have a safe and sane migration off of fast food. We're going to be working on getting you in here from 3 times a week to 5 times a week. Like, you can set the boundaries. And so, and then the third, which to me is the golden rule of all of this, is like we take for granted the rituals and culture that we have in our gym, and we just thrust people into it, and it makes them feel stupid. And then, like, in my opinion, one of the fastest and easiest ways to get someone to eject out of your business is just make them feel stupid. And if you really think about your business, there's 100 points on that first day that they can feel stupid. Why are people standing by this thing? What happens if I ring the bell? Should I get water in the middle of a workout or should I not? Right? Like, all of these things are stupid moments. And you have to make sure, like, as you onboard them, you're explaining, like, what are the rituals? What do we expect? What are the customs? Why are people doing that weird thing over there together? Why do we high five after class or do we not? A lot of things that you have to think through that we take for granted as owners.
And I want to kind of reiterate what you just said. Sales, it's easy to overpromise. It's harder to deliver later on. So I agree, it has to be connected with sales because you're setting out expectations. You're building belief for people. And what I like to say, belief is just poor substitute for experience. Now, onboarding is experience delivery, right? It's where they really face like, okay, I built my blueprint, now I gotta experience it. And it has to match. And what I always like, the best companies who thrive, who have a raving fans, are those who underpromise and overdeliver. Can you hold your salespeople not to spill all the beans out? And then can we overdeliver on something that was not even promised? And I think if we do that, let me know if you agree, is creating wow effect. Like, oh, that's cool. Or at least let's meet where they need. And that expectation is such a huge thing, because when you ask people why did they cancel, you'll find out a lot of problems that's either onboarding or sales. Am I right?
I think for the most part it comes back to onboarding, because even if sales over delivers, onboarding can correct that.
Oh,
you know what I mean? Because a lot of the a lot of the overpromise, it depends on the sales process. I can't speak for everyone, but I don't think most people listening to the show intentionally overpromise. I think most people are very empathetic and in tune with their customers' needs. Where the overpromise comes is my interpretation of what you're telling me as a customer, right? And so the way you can correct that in onboarding is like, it sounds like you might have misinterpreted what we were saying in sales. What we're really selling is this is going to X, Y, Z, right? Yeah. Or like, I apologize if that was misrepresented. I'll talk to the salesperson, but really what's happening is here. We're just the onboarding is really the expectation setting. Now the reality is, coming from sales, people have expectations already baked. But the sales job is not to set expectations. The sales job is to expose value, get someone to understand what are the outcomes that happen here. The onboarding's job is to set the expectations to deliver those outcomes. So yes and no, I agree with you but we can reshape it there. But yes, if you don't fix it in onboarding, then you've got someone going into your product that is misaligned with what you might actually do.
Got it.
That's the problem.
So how would you break it down? Like, can you walk us through the process of ideal, perfect onboarding scenario?
Yeah.
If everybody does this, there's no problems.
Yeah. So first of all, there's no perfect. It all depends on your gym and what you're trying to do. But I'll walk you through like what I would do if I was onboarding a client right now. First, I'd sit down. Hopefully there's a continuation of sales motion to onboarding, meaning like a piece of paper or an artifact, something in a CRM system or something where I can sit down and look at it and go like, okay, you told Andre your goals were to get stronger but lose 5 to 10 pounds. You want to feel like you're athletic again and you're starting to feel like your athleticism slipping. And you're also starting to worry about future health problems. 3 things that you're trying to work on. Cool. We can do all of that here. Let's just let's start to talk through what that means. Okay. If we're working on some strength and weight loss together, you've got to show up and we got to push ourselves a little bit in the gym. You've got to be able to lift a little bit heavier than you think you're comfortable with. We got to learn how to live in discomfort. But also we got to, when we're home, the 23 hours of the day that I'm not with you, I need to be able to trust that you're going to be able to eat somewhat, responsibly to achieve these goals. Is that something you're interested in doing? Right? Give me your buy-in. Yes or yes? Yeah. Okay, cool. So what does that mean? I will give you a resource. I have this pamphlet over here. Boom, here you go. These are all of this is the way we think about nutrition. These are the types of easy, healthy and delicious recipes that I eat myself, but you can make for yourself. I'm busy. Most of these are 3 to 5 ingredients and take 15 minutes to make. Super easy to follow. What I need you to promise to do is get out of that habit of hitting McDonald's or Burger King on the way home. You think you can do that? You're getting buy-in, right? Okay, cool. Now you're telling me about health problems. You should probably go get your blood checked tomorrow, if possible. Let's go get our blood checked. Let's get a baseline for what we're looking at. Have you done your blood recently? No? Okay. Can you try and do that in the next 2 weeks? Because it'll be really telling 9 months from now or 6 months from now when we recheck if this is actually working for you, because we want this to work for you. And if it's not, then hey, maybe this isn't the best place for you, right? So we're really framing what we're trying to do and it's just as much what I'm going to do for you as what you need to do for you. And I do think that's where a lot of gyms miss, because they'll just talk about what I need to do for you, what the gym is going to do. But if you don't get the customer buying into what they need to do, what I hear, some of my best gyms, this is what they do in the sales and onboarding process to back each other up. In the sales room, hey, Andre, so you told me you want to do X, Y, Z. They're already framing expectations, right? The reality is, in order to do that, you have to be in the gym 3 to 4 times a week. Are you so busy you can't do that? You cannot commit to that? My coaches will be here making sure you come. We're here to work with you. But if you realistically don't think you can come 4 times a week, I really think you should just go to Anytime Fitness for now. Right? The minute I say that, the inclination of a customer is going to be no, I can do that. You're not going to kick me out of the sales process. I want to stay in the sales process. You reiterate that in onboarding. You told them you can come 4 times a week. I just want to make sure, because none of this success can be had in the timeframes that you want if you're not here 4 times a week. And the reason we frame 4 is because I know they're going to come 3 if I say 4. If I say 3, they're going to come 2. See what I'm saying?
Yep, setting up proper expectations and getting them to confirm. It's most important that comes from their mouth. If you say it, it's a story. If they say it, it's true. And they have a mental commitment. And then when they have a commitment, that impacts retention. This all sounds great then when you talk about it. And I believe business owners agree with this. Yeah, that's what I'm doing. But how do you deal with employees who knows they should do this, but they don't? Because now we're thinking about scaling. People on multiple locations, they cannot do it themselves. Every owner has a heart in it, but not every employee. Yep. How do we transfer that as a process that is consistent?
Yeah. So I think the first pivot point on this question is: Are you a full-time in-gym owner, or are you an absentee owner?
Yeah.
And I guess the real answer to this is it doesn't matter, because you need a presence in the gym that believes in this so much that they expect it is part of the professional expectation of how we do business here, right? Then it becomes easy. Because if it's me or if it's you, if you're the general manager or I'm the owner and one of us is there all the time and it's that's the expectation and we train against that expectation, if you notice that people are churning and it's like you have, so first of all, you can have exit interviews. Why are you quitting? Well, I didn't really understand what you guys were saying in the sales process. You didn't really deliver what you wanted. I see Andre did your onboarding. He's the one who worked with you for that first 90 days or 30 days. Didn't he kind of work you through like what we need? No, never got that. Okay, I'll talk to Andre. It's cool. Blah, blah, blah. When you hear enough of that, then someone's not following your process. And it's just easy. It's like we don't sell that way. Yep. We're not trying to hard sell people. We're not trying to trick people. We don't sell that way. You don't agree with the company. You have one more chance to do this right, or I have to let you go.
Yeah.
Right. Now here's what the argument's going to be. But he's my best trainer. But he's my best salesperson. Right.
Yes. I know him for a long time. We have his history.
That one is actually harder. But when it's like they don't follow my rules, but they're my best person, the inclination is I cannot afford to let them go because they are my best person. Salesperson, trainer, whatever it might be. The reality is you should fire them faster than you can even say the word fired. Because someone who's really good and won't follow the rules will screw up your whole culture. Totally. And because they're successful by not following the rules, they'll set the tone for the entire company to not follow the rules. Like everyone will try and emulate them. So you can have zero tolerance for somebody. I call that high output, high toxic. High toxicity, high output has to go immediately.
That's right, because they have credibility, and if your credibility comes with bad behavior, that's cross-pollinating, and they'll give themselves entitlement. Like, I don't have to do these things.
Yeah. I'm the best sales guy. I don't have to follow the rules. Yeah, no.
Correct. Like SOP is not for me; it's for newbies.
Yeah,
and that creates a big problem.
First person to fire.
That's something that many people have a hard time dealing with. I discovered 2 strikes out rule. You give them a strike, you give them a coaching, you have 30 days to improve it. You're on micromanagement for 30 days. And the next slip, you're out. You got full review of your process saying this is the expectations we don't tolerate, or this is the process we enforce. And some of the time, people will just leave on their own. Like, no, that's not what I'm into here. And they'll find themselves a new home. You don't have to fire them. Because when you set expectations, you clarify, you talk about that, and they understand, especially if you track it, then it's no hard. Letting people go, it's not a hard thing.
I agree.
And then talking about hiring, you set good expectations up front. Talking about this understanding, because we have people on the podcast as a guest and as a listeners who are C-level executives who are working with hundreds of franchises, right, from the big brands across the globe. And they're looking into this as operational challenge. Like, I'm managing 20 corporate locations, but I'm also helping another 250 individual locations to get their ducks together, right? And what would be your recommendation to them to keep track of it? Do you have any KPI you could think of that reflects this onboarding experience? Is it retention?
Oh, yeah.
Satisfaction? Is it like, how would we put 100%. A number on it?
So I like to think simply when it comes to metrics, but the reality is all metrics can be broken up into a tree to some degree. And you could have multiple trees. It just starts at like, what are the most important metrics? If I had to pick one for onboarding, it would be either 60 or 90 day churn rate. Churn rate or churn in raw dollars, right? And then what I would do is I would KPI them against a ceiling. Like if we go raw dollars, so it's like in the 60-day window from someone signing up, you should have no more than $800 of churn in that window, for the month, right? Or actually, honestly, it should be zero. But what that's telling me is like if they cannot control that, then something in the process in the first 60 days is so loose that people are not finding the value and slipping through the cracks and leaving, right? So I would KPI them against a time frame in whatever you consider to be your onboarding period, which would be marked by the point like when someone crosses that line, they're like, I'm part of this community. I have 3 friends. I know how this works. I can explain this to my mom. Once they cross that line in the sand, then I would not count that to be an onboarding fail anymore.
That's a great single North Star metrics for this process. Have you heard any objections from the people saying, yeah, but it's not my fault. It's the sales guys. or
of course.
agency is doing bad stuff, I can't deal with these guys who are coming from Groupon. I'm just putting the stupid thing out.
Absolutely. Yeah, so that's always going to happen, right? Like you're always going to have, and in fact, the better you do in business and the way the flywheel works is the more you do good in one section, the more you break the next. So there's always going to be some natural tension between one section and another section in any business. This like salespeople blaming marketing and marketing blaming sales has gone back probably to like the Stone Ages. It's just the way it works, right? Yeah. But what you have to do is you have to be able to, and this is where leadership comes in and management, you have to be able to wire up the right data and then also collect the right antidote to be able to marry everything together and go like, as a leader, everything's telling me it's a little bit of this and a little bit of that. You guys are both at fault probably. Like usually both people are at fault to some degree. And we can clean it up on our each side of the fence by doing this and by doing this, or you guys figure it out how to clean it up. I don't care, but you guys are letting some bad deals slip through. Maybe it's because I'm being too aggressive on my sales quotas or whatever it might be. And let's talk about that. And you guys are not onboarding well enough, or you're not identifying this new ICPs coming in because they're onboarding a new whole client base that they've started marketing against or whatever. Like they're usually it's like upstream for where the problem is and you can find it, you know? So like there is no answer to this because it depends specifically on what the cracks and the problems are forming in the company. But what I like to tell people is, as a CEO of PushPress, I'm PushPress ChatGPT. Like I'm watching everything. I'm taking all the data in from everywhere in the company. And when someone says something, I'm like, that doesn't sound right. You need to rethink that. My gut tells me that's wrong. And they might come back with data and prove that my gut is wrong. I'm hallucinating. But the point is like, I can have an opinion about everything in my business because I pay attention to all of it.
Yeah. And listen, PushPress is incredible software. You guys should check it out. I want you to kind of give me a little bit information about why did you develop that. I know your frustration. Talk about you as a being customer of all these vendor relationships and your frustrations in the market, and kind of why did you invest the time into PushPress?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I was a software developer before I opened a gym, so it was like a natural path for me to go.
Yeah,
I looked at all the software. I didn't really jive with anything that I saw at the time. And so I was like, I'll just build my own. And the first version was just built off of WordPress. We just built a WordPress plugin to like run my first gym. That's awesome. That's kind of the genesis, part of the genesis of the PushPress name is we were originally thinking we'll just build it off of WordPress and call it PushPress. And it's a movement, a barbell movement. So it's kind of like a nice little hybrid. So yeah, then I honestly, I naively thought like, this will be simple. Like how hard can gym software be? I'll just write it. And then we got deep enough where we started to face sunk cost fallacy, which is another thing that you shouldn't do. Like whenever you feel like I should keep going because I've already invested so much time, you probably should stop because it's like your gut is telling you like this is the wrong way. But I was much less educated then, very naive. And so I followed sunk cost fallacy into like devoting years of my life into even trying to see if we can get some customers. And then, once it took us 8 years to get any kind of traction, like nobody knew about us for 8 years. It was like I've posted on LinkedIn, like our growth chart. And it's the typical thing you see where like the first 8 years, you can't even see it. And then it just starts to go. And, those first the beginning of any business is so hard. It's so tough that like I looking back, I probably shouldn't have done it. I probably would have made more money.
You all say that. Like if I know that this path is so hard.
That's the cliche of most. But because I was an engineer coming into this, I like even to this date, I probably would have made more money just being an engineer for the last 14 years than building PushPress. So it's pretty funny. But that's why I got started, because it was like a pain point that I knew. Like we're all go-getters. Like I knew I could solve it, and I just said, "Let me do it."
But what I like from our last conversation, what you mentioned is there's so many false promises out there. People are promising you one thing, and then when you get it, sign a contract, you totally get a different thing. Missed promises on rates on the credit cards, missed promises on the sales and the features you're gonna get. And what I like about you and what you're doing is driven by credibility, by integrity. It is something that's so missing in today's world of relationships in software and vendor providers today. So kudos for that. tell us about the book again. What needs coming out?
Yeah, let me actually preface this with something I feel is important, and maybe will add to my credibility. Building software is really hard, and we do our best to make sure everyone's a raving fan, but every gym operates differently, and there's these millions of pain points that everyone feels, and it's like we hear them all, and we're doing our best to work on all of them. But I think it's very important to recognize, like, there is no perfect software out there. It doesn't matter unless you build it yourself, and even then, it wouldn't be perfect for the next person. So
no, that will not.
Yeah. It is again, like the learning stuff that I had never built I worked on software before, but I'd never built something that thousands and thousands and hundreds of thousands of gym members would use. And so now that we're at this point, I'm like, we have a very difficult problem to solve. It's very hard to get through.
And I'll tell, to kind of tag along on that one. I know businesses who use third-party software. I know businesses who develop their own software, like the franchise chains and so on. And I know the same ones who are giving up on their own software, going back to the vendors. Because after 10, 15 years of maintaining this, it becomes hard to maintain it. If you use third-party people, they left, they changed, nobody knows what heck happened.
Yes.
There's industry and technology so rapidly changing to whatever you coded 3 years ago, it's already outdated in code by it. And maintaining the code is a difficult game. That's why a software is hard to do.
You know it. Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing that most people miss. I'll just build my own, even website.
Yeah.
Because it's like, okay, you want to keep updating that CTA every month. You want to keep cracking open whatever it is. The maintenance is the hard part of software, not building.
It is. And we know from the WordPress, people think like, yeah, I'll just install the plugins and so on. There are hacker communities out there. They look for outdated plugins. The moment your plugin is not updated, they'll scan it and they'll infect your website that can go down or get banned by every provider out there. So keeping up, even with the third-party WordPress, it has to be maintained all the time. Has to be kept up with the technology. There's no perfect solution that lasts forever. Glad you brought this up. It's not me speaking. It's technology speaking through us. That's why we need to keep eye on this and keep working with people. Who cares?
So what were you asking the book?
I was asking, like, when can we get our hands on it?
We are writing it right now. In fact, I have a 2-hour working session right after this podcast to work on it. And my co-author is my CRO, Nick Reyes. And I think it's going to be coming out towards Q4 of this year. We're starting to write the chapters now. So it will be going through a pretty rapid evolution of process from here on out. But you can go, we're going to give away copies to all the people who catch me wherever I happen to be talking about it. So this can be one if you want.
Then I'm going to say something for those people listening. Go and comment on this YouTube, Spotify, or any channel and see what excites you about the book. What would you like to see? And maybe Dan will answer some of the questions in the book. I didn't mean to throw this in your lap, but hey, it's always good to have some audience.
No. Yeah, it's good. I think the book will really help demystify how gyms should run business. So if you're out there and you're feeling like there's a million things to do and you don't really clearly see your business from the forest level, this book will help solidify how does your business look, and then it will really spell out both strategically and tactically how you run from one step of the business to the next in a way that creates a flywheel effect. That's why we call it the flywheel. So every pull gets easier as you go around the revolutions.
I love that. And it's much easier when you can copy the process that's already in place. So you guys are having exposure here and hopefully to get your books out soon to see how it's done by really people who cares and who understand the industry and deeply. Now I want to ask you a question. Can we sign up for a waiting list? Is there a link, something you can give us?
It's we're giving it away for free to the people on this list. Pushpress.com/book offer. Just one word. Pushpress.com/BOOKOFFER.
Awesome, guys. You know what to do. Go to the link. I'll put the link in a description, in the notes, and anything either. If you're listening or watching, there's going to be there as well. And for a limited time, just go there and then grab the free copy or sign up for a list to get a free copy. Dan, thank you so much for sharing some wisdom today and enlightening us in the world of operations and onboarding. and for you guys who are listening, to give gratitude to Dan and for his hard work. Writing a book is not easy. Writing a software is not easy. This is his life dedication to you. And if you have any questions, put it in the chat comments. And if you know people who are struggling with this, who would be interested to learn more, just share this episode with them. They'll be grateful, and looking forward then to read your book. And to
Thank you. One thing I will say, I had black hair. I had black hair when I started this journey, so I paid for a lot of it in my hair color.
There we go, guys. You see here commitment. Thank you, Dan, for incredible call today, and looking forward to stay in touch.
All right, thank you.
If you are a gym owner looking to become a top-rated gym in your area, visit topratedgym.com and grab our free 30-day reputation boost. That's topratedgym.com. I'll add it to the show notes for you. Don't forget to share this with your friends. Stay strong, stay motivated, and keep pushing your gym to the top. Until next time, this is Andre signing off.